Many students ask the question what mistakes are in my literary answer and how can I overcome them and how to produce a good piece of writing at the exam. So buckle up, in this video we are going to discuss what common mistakes we found in our literary answer at the exam. When you produce an answer in the exam, there are certain things to be considered. When the examiner goes through the answer scripts of the students of literature, it is a common practice to see the common errors and mistakes in the answer script of the students of literature. Here it is referred to an Asian set of students. For other countries, these errors and mistakes can be the same. So if you have different experiences, why don't you share them in our comment section so we can learn them and enlighten ourselves. Of course, there are no strict boundaries and rules in writing. And most importantly, if you have developed your own style of writing, you can follow it for sure. However, when you face to a written exam, this can be somewhat different because there are some certain set rules and marking schemes which you have to adhere to. So to score the stipulated marks, you have to follow and adhere to those certain guidelines and set rules in writing in the exam. But do not worry, you can adapt your own style of writing to the standards of writings and formats and rules in the exam. So this is not going to be something very big deal, and this is not going to be a big deal for you. So let's see what are the common mistakes and errors found in your exam. The first mistake, we found that there's no proper beginning in your answer. Beginning of the answer is one of the most important part in your piece of writing. If you start well, consider half the work is done. When going through the marking script, we found these common errors and mistakes in your writing. You can check whether these mistakes are available in your answer scripts. The first thing we notice in certain answers, there is no opening paragraph at all. Opening paragraph is the most important part in your answer because that is what the examiner reads first. So because of that, make sure you write a better opening paragraph to score better scores. In the opening paragraph, you should introduce what you stand in the argument. Here you should introduce, this is how I am going to answer to the question. So in this first paragraph, you should touch and you should highlight what are the key points, what are the keywords you found in the question. Missing an opening paragraph means you cannot provide these things. You cannot show what are you going to write in the exam. So that is a very big negative point. And in the opening paragraph, we find a lot of unnecessary information. A lot of students have the practice of writing a lot of details about the poet, a lot of unnecessary background details about the genre and writer. That is something to be avoided. That means this is not compulsory to a question. You should provide these details only if necessary. Do not write unnecessary background details and details about the poet at the beginning. That is somewhat disturbing to an examiner, and he might suspect that you have less knowledge about the question, that because of that you are going to beat the bush around. That means directly start the process of writing or providing unnecessary details. So you should stop beating the bush around, you should hit the nail on the spot. The other notable thing we found was that the students start with a quotation from the text. So that is not somewhat important because at the beginning we are not going to prove anything. Quotations are proving materials, evidences. So in the first paragraph, it is not good to provide quotations because in the opening paragraph we are setting the scene, rather providing information, rather providing arguments or evidences. So avoid providing quotation for the opening paragraph. So the other notable thing we found was some students are very biased at the beginning of the paragraph. That means in the opening paragraph or throughout the answer, we should avoid adding the personal touch to the question. If you provide your own emotions, your idea to the answer, that is somewhat biased because we are personal, we are putting forward our own personal idea. That is not good. You should provide evidences from the text rather providing your own personal ideas. You see some students start the answer with the personal touch like, I think it is true, it is a wonderful story, X is a wonderful character, and Y is a wonderful character, and the writer is a wonderful writer. These things unveil your personal ideas about the novel, poem or short story. So because of that, it is better you should avoid these things. So to be a good answer, it should be impersonal and less involvement of emotions also. Do not write the thing, this is what I think. Instead of that, you can provide examples, you can provide evidences from the text to prove the argument. That is what the characteristic of a good answer. And the other thing, the opening paragraph should not be too short or too large. And make sure highlight what are you going to write and highlight the key points and keywords here. And one of the negative thing we find in certain answers, you do not answer the question but write something else. Write about the genre, write the story, write the paraphrasing of the poem. So that is not what is required at the exam. In the opening paragraph, you should signpost what are you going to write, how my answer is going to be. These are the key points, these are the key words I found in the question. So hope you understand that the opening paragraph is very important and make sure you write a good opening paragraph. And the second mistake we found in the questions, that there's no proper ending to the question. Ending is too important like the opening paragraph. You should start well and you should end well, and in the middle also you should do well to produce a good piece of writing. So what should we do at the ending? We should end the answer emphasizing where you stand in your argument. That means the question is Kamala Das a rebellious character? In the poem Introduction by Kamala Das, in the ending paragraph, you should write summing up whether Kamala Das is a rebellious character or not. That means you should stand firm on the right side you think that is right at the end of the question. You should stress your stand in the argument at the end of the answer. Suppose that everyone can understand there can be abrupt endings because candidate could not manage his time is not enough. So there can be sudden endings, so that can be accepted. However, it's not going to be an excuse because you have to provide a better ending to score a better mark at the exam. And the other thing we commonly find in the answers that the candidates do not type the keywords in the question. You should know that the keywords and the key points are the heart of an answer. Sometimes they are easily found in the question or sometimes they are wrapped inside the question. So you have to decipher the question and find the keywords. You have to find them and discuss them in your answer. So when you read the question, you can use a highlighter or pencil to underline and mark the key points or keywords in the question. These keywords and key points should be recurrently appearing in your answer so that the examiner knows that you are going to prove something, you are going to touch the questions, you are going to prove these key notes in the question. So if we take an example, if we read the question, what techniques does Tennyson use to create a majestic image of a bird in his poem, The Eagle? Discuss. So what are the keywords in the question? Keywords are the majestic bird and techniques. So as a candidate, you have to stress those two words, techniques and majestic bird, in your answer. So in the answer, you can provide examples and concrete evidences from the text how the techniques used in the poem create a majestic image of a bird. So mind you, you should use the very words appear in the question. That means the word technique and the majestic bird in the question. That's what we tell, that we are highlighting the key points, key words in the question. Other mistake we found in your answers that students or candidates do not follow the proper structure of a paragraph. Do you know there are some accepted methods to write a paragraph of a literary answer? Not only for a literary answer, for other answers also. Normally a literary answer is of argumentative style of writing. If you do not know about argumentative style of writing, you can visit our blog and search how to write an argumentative piece of writing. Our blog is www.litspring.com. You can visit there and read it. And if you use full quotations, you can watch the videos we have done how to write a paragraph using quotations and writing a Hamburg style of paragraph. You can use the links below to have a proper understanding of how to write proper standard paragraph. One of the other biggest mistake we find in your answer is providing wrong quotations. We provide quotations to prove our argument. Students tend to provide wrong quotations or incomplete quotations in their pieces of writing. This is considered as a crime in writing a literary answer. If you are not sure or if you don't know the quotation, please do not provide the wrong quotation. Better find an alternate way to provide same evidence rather than providing a wrong quotation. Instead of providing wrong long quotations, you can have a practice of providing a single word quotation or phrase quotations in your answer. You can provide a specific word in the text, in the poem or in the novel while you are writing the answer. When you provide a quoted word, when you provide a word from the text, you can use single quotation marks to show this is the quoted word from the text. So the other thing is, we don't have a single word quotation or quotation in our mind. If you know the incident, you can do a paraphrasing to prove the argument. So rather than providing a wrong quotation, these are some accepted way of writing. If you provide a single word quotation or phrase quotation, you can integrate it into a sentence like this. For example, see this: the crooked hand of the eagle clasps the crag, providing the corrupted nature of power. Here you can see the single quotations are used to show these are the quoted word from the text. It is embedded into the sentence, so it is somewhat creative and interesting way to write the answer rather than providing wrong quotations. So as a student of literature, for the purpose of examination, you can by heart certain golden quotation in your mind. You can write them in a piece of paper, highlight them and paste it somewhere visible, so you can always spot them and put them into your mind. So there are some golden quotations which are very easy to remember and very short. For example, in Wuthering Heights, I always remember the word "I am Heathcliff." That is a very strong golden quotation because it is very easy to remember also. Normally if the quotation is very long, we do not provide the whole quotation. Instead of that, we provide the first part of the quotation, first few words of the quotation, and put 3 dots and write the end part of the quotation. So this is also another way of providing quotations easily, because we don't have to remember all quotation. That is somewhat easy. As a tip, I can tell you, try to be creative and try to provide the quotation in your mind, adapting it to the question. You should be able to use any quotation according to the question. That is somewhat tricky in the examination. So you can be tactful and use your existing knowledge to write the answer. So that means you have to be tactful in the exam to use your existing knowledge to the question. Please do not misspell the quotations or do not write wrong name for the authors. That is considered as a crime in any answering. This can be devastating because there are similar name poets or writers in literature. Because of that, you should be very careful when writing the names of the authors. And the other thing is, providing wrong quotations or wrong names of the poets or writers means that you are careless and you don't have enough knowledge about the genre or the subject matter you are going to answer. Another common mistake we find is the grammatical mistakes in your answers. So as we told, the grammar mistakes are very common in any answering. If you use wrong grammar in your answer, your intended meaning, that means what you are going to tell, is not conveyed, it's not produced in the answer. That is a very big negative point, especially in literary answers. Normally when you write a literary answer, we use simple present tense. Make sure you follow the subject-verb agreement in simple present tense. It is universally accepted that having grammatical mistakes in answer is very common because it is a spot production. Because of that, there can be mistakes, there can be errors in your answer. Normally few mistakes are forgiven in your answer, but if the error is persistent, if it is constant, so that can be very harmful for your grade. So the best way to avoid grammar mistake is to have a pre-plan to write the answer. You can have a mind map to write the answer. The other thing is, you should double check your answer. You have to reread your answer and correct your grammatical mistakes. Normally you will find a lot of mistakes when you double check your answer. Mistake we find in the beginner student, that they are not answering the question, they are writing something else. They tend to provide the things they know. They provide their knowledge about the genre, what they know about the subject matter in the answer script, rather than providing what is asked in the question. Sometimes students tend to provide some others note irrespective of the question. Whatever the question they have, they provide some others notes. It is also a big problem when you write an answer. To avoid this, you should have your own way of writing. You should develop your own writing style. You should know how to write an answer. So To practice this, you should practice this. Otherwise, you can't develop your own writing style. That means you have to jump into the water to learn how to swim. There is no other way or formula or pill to develop a better way of writing. You have to follow certain guidelines and start writing. That is the only way to develop your own style of writing. It is better to get the support of a teacher. You can write the answers and show it to a teacher, and teacher will correct them. You can develop your writing step by step. Follow the process writing rather than spot writing. Then you can develop your writing style. Another reason for not answering the question that the student do not read the question properly. So you have to read the question twice or thrice until you understand the question properly and you find the key points and keywords. So while you are reading the question, have a separate piece of paper and plan your answer in that paper before writing the question. So these are the mistakes I found in my students' pieces of writing. I believe and I hope this video will be helpful for you to reduce your mistakes and produce better answers at the exam. As a teacher or student, if you see any other common mistake, you can leave a comment below and we can learn about them too. If you find this process useful, please share it with others. If you are new, you can get the notification of our new videos by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it. That is the end for today. Hope to meet you with another useful video soon. So until then, bye bye.